Hey everyone, today we're going to patch up the Labyrinth with the rest of the Sound Studio. I put it in this small case with the rest of the Sound Studio, and also many of the modules that you see over here are the ones that I used in my Expanding the Sound Studio series. So we're going to be using those in the next video and patching the whole thing together. This is also the case that I built with the Constant Labs kit. I did a video on that, so if you're interested in that, make sure to check it out. Again, just before we get going, this of course is not an exhaustive list of how you patch it together. It's just a couple of ideas to kind of get you going and see how it integrates with the whole sound system. One thing that immediately comes to mind when you think of the Labyrinth is that it has this randomized and quantized sequencer, and you can use it to sequence any of your instruments. So that's where I'm going to start today. We're just going to tie everything together and see if we can make some interaction with the sequencers. Let's start by sending the sequence out of the sequencer 1 of the Labyrinth, and we'll actually trigger our mother using that. So I'm plugging from sequencer 1 CV into VCO 1 volt per octave. So now what happens is the CV from sequencer 1 will actually change the notes of the mother. And that means that all that randomization, you don't have to be programming in sequences or anything. But we also want to have the gate, or actually you don't have to do this. You could have the gate and the envelope being triggered from the mother itself, so that way the rhythms don't match up. But I'm going to have the triggers from the Labyrinth actually triggering the mother. But to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm going to go from sequencer 2, and we'll go from sequencer 2 trig into the gate of the mother. So I'm going to turn down everything but the mother so you can hear what that sounds like. And if I hit run stop on the Labyrinth, so right there, it's just nice to have all the controls and the sound of the mother, but yet still have those the random sequencer of the Labyrinth. And listen to what you can do when you start mixing in the tones. What's cool about this is that the sequencer 1 is what's triggering, or I have the mix leaning towards sequencer 1 on the Labyrinth, but yet the CV is matching. So it gives this kind of complementary sequences. Now, too, you can also play around with the octaves of the mother or make harmonies or things like that. All I did was press G, and that transposed the CV signal up to a fifth. So now it's playing perfect fifths. And if you wanted them playing in unison, you can of course set the sequencer 1 trig to go to the gate. Cool stuff. Let's actually get the DFAM in here, throw in, go pitch to noise, and we'll run, actually let's have the Labyrinth be sort of the master clock. So I'm going to run the clock out of the Labyrinth, and we'll go into the advanced clock of the DFAM and see how that sounds. Nice. Okay, cool. So let's bring in the subharmonicon. And so again, we want to kind of tie everything together. So let's see. Right now, here, I'll turn everything down. This is what I got going on the sub. And that's it. Right now, the tempo's going. I didn't really spend a lot of time setting it up, but just made sure that the keys kind of matched up and everything. But one thing we could do is send out the clock from one of these sequencers and actually have the two sequencers of the Labyrinth playing at different speeds. So you could go, let's do sequencer 2 clock, and we'll send that into clock 2 of the Labyrinth. Now sequencer 2 of the Labyrinth is going to be going at a much slower rate. We're going to send the trigger out of the DFAM and into the clock of the subharmonicon. So that way they're all linked up now. All right, let's listen to that. And here we go. Cool. So one other thing we can do is right now the subharmonicon has a pretty limited sequencer with only 4 steps, 4 notes that we can program. And we still have another line of CV coming out of the Labyrinth. So let's take sequencer 2 CV out of the Labyrinth and we can control one of the VCOs from the subharmonicon. Let's go into... let's do sequencer 2, so we'll go into VCO 2. Now the thing is with here is that it's still going to be triggering with the sequencer, but the notes that it's actually playing are coming from the Labyrinth. Now the thing is too is since we're sending out sequencer 2 clock into the clock 2 of the Labyrinth, they'll kind of line up. In fact, you know what? Now let's leave it there for now. You could mix it up and have the sequencer 1 clock controlling the sequencer 2 of the Labyrinth, just to kind of make everything go all crazy. But let's listen to like what happens on the subharmonicon with that patch point. And actually, let's turn down everything but VCO2. So now we're just going to be listening to VCO2 and its sub oscillators. So you can hear it has a much wider range. If we take this out, it's just got that kind of boring 4-note sequence. But you throw it in and it's all over the place. And you can, of course, change the range with the sequencer 2 CV range. Let's bring everything else back in. I just realized I forgot to turn off the sequencer 2 assign on the subharmonicon. So that's very important. I was kind of like wondering what is happening. It sounds a little bit out of tune. Let's go back and redo that. So now I've turned off this oscillator. I'm going to turn down everything but the subharmonicon. And now this is not getting the CV from this, and it's only getting the CV from the Labyrinth. So you can hear it's all over the place, and if I take this out, Yeah, so now I'm going to turn that off and we'll play them all together, and it should sound more in tune. That sounds pretty great, and really at this point all I'm doing is using the sequencers to kind of make everything sort of interact together. So of course there's a lot of fun stuff to do that you can do with sequencing, but I also want to talk a little bit about using the modules of the Labyrinth to shape different sounds. One of the kind of drawbacks from the Labyrinth is that you have the sine wave for the main VCO and the triangle wave for the mod VCO. One thing that you could do is actually send in more complex signals. Like, let's even just use the saw from the mother. You can plug that into the wavefolder in, the VCW in of the Labyrinth, and now that signal is being fed in. So for instance, right now I have all of the signals from the Labyrinth turned down. And I can actually use that saw wave with the Labyrinth to create a more interesting sound. You could also do something like send in the pulse wave into the filter at the same time. And you get this nice blend of the two, a wave-folded saw plus a pulse wave going through the cutoff. Now, of course, if you send something into like the wave folder here, that's going to break that signal path. So this is not going to be going through the wave folder. It will still be going through the cutoff, but if we were to take that signal from the mother and send it in through the cutoff, we'd basically be taking this signal out. Go ahead and send the sequence back into the mother. I'll hook that patch point back up again so we can hear what it sounds like. And then there's, of course, the modulation from the mother. That's really helpful. So that LFO, let's have that modulating. I don't know, let's see what it sounds like with the fold. Pretty cool stuff. So another thing with the Labyrinth, you have a pretty simple envelope where there's a strong attack, a fast attack, and you have control over the decay. But one thing you could do is use the envelope from the mother or even the subharmonicon to control that. We use that with the VCA CVs here, so the wavefolder and the filter. So if we go from the envelope out of the mother, EG out, and put it into, say, the wavefolder, I'm going to turn this all the way to the wavefolder side so we can hear what that sounds like. It can take a little bit of that harshness away and create some really pleasant tones. So there you go. There are a few ideas for how you can patch the Labyrinth with the rest of the Sound Studio. I put out another video on this a while back, and I tried to do some different stuff in this video, but make sure to check out that too. There's a link in the description. But I hope this gets some creative juices flowing. If you have some patch points or patch pairings that you really like and you want to let us know, make sure to write it down in the comment section. All right, I hope you got something out of this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.